What if a $5 trillion empire was built on a massive, terrifying lie? Welcome to Nvidia's dark secret of circular financing, where they lend billions to customers just to buy their own chips. OpenAI wanted a colossal data center in Ohio, but lacked the investment-grade credit to fund it. So Nvidia stepped in, guaranteeing a staggering $105 billion lease to backstop their favorite buyer, indeed, easily. This means Nvidia is essentially guaranteeing its own massive revenue by backstopping the tenant. If the AI bubble bursts, Nvidia's brilliant balance sheet will suddenly face a truly devastating and catastrophic collapse. But how on earth did a company that started by making graphics for teenage gamers end up here? Let us travel back to a humble Denny's booth in 1993 for their origin. Three brilliant, caffeine-fueled engineers sketched out a dream of immersive, three-dimensional personal computer graphics. They named their wild startup Nvidia, derived from the Latin word for envy, aiming to conquer silicon today. Back then, the legendary CPU was the undisputed king of personal computing. A central processing unit acts like one highly trained master chef, processing complex calculations strictly, one task at once indeed. But rendering thousands of complex pixels for three-dimensional video games required something completely different. It demanded massive parallel processing, which the sequential CPU simply could not handle without choking up completely indeed. So Nvidia built the revolutionary GPU, a processor designed to perform many simple calculations simultaneously. It acts like an army of 10,000 line cooks chopping raw onions in perfect, beautiful harmony. In 1999, they released the legendary GeForce 256 graphics card. They proudly marketed it as the world's very first graphics processing unit, triggering an absolute massive revolution in the competitive gaming industry. Teenagers worldwide went absolutely wild for smoother frame rates and lifelike virtual worlds. Gamers happily bought these expensive graphics cards, entirely unaware they were funding a future artificial intelligence revolution. Indeed, always. But Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang's brilliant vision extended far beyond drawing pretty pixels. In 2006, he made a massive, agonizingly expensive gamble that completely baffled the entire cynical financial world on Wall Street. Nvidia boldly launched CUDA, a truly revolutionary software toolkit. It allowed developers to run general-purpose programming code directly on the GPU's thousands of parallel computing cores with extreme, absolute ease, always. Wall Street analysts hated it, valuing the CUDA project at exactly $0. They argued that nobody was using this expensive platform, calling it a multi-million-dollar vanity hobby for scientists worldwide, surely. Jensen did not flinch, pouring roughly $500 million annually into CUDA. He insisted on putting the expensive CUDA silicon into every single chip Nvidia manufactured, including cheap gaming cards always. This means that every teenager who bought a graphics card for gaming was unconsciously financing the future of AI. The software ecosystem quietly grew in university bedrooms and research laboratories worldwide, fast. Before CUDA arrived, early AI researchers had to perform desperate, painful workarounds. They literally hacked their mathematical data to masquerade as three-dimensional pixel colors, just to trick the graphics chip, always, desperately. Then came the legendary Big Bang of artificial intelligence in 2012. A group of brilliant Canadian researchers trained a deep neural network named AlexNet, using two consumer-grade GeForce graphics cards, beautifully indeed. AlexNet utterly decimated the global image recognition competition, shocking computer scientists everywhere. The tech world suddenly realized that neural networks combined with GPU parallel power could solve previously impossible, difficult problems, truly. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang recognized this monumental paradigm shift immediately. He boldly pivoted his entire multi-billion-dollar organization, declaring that every single chip Nvidia designed going forward would focus strictly on AI, permanently. In 2016, CEO Jensen Huang personally delivered the world's very first DGX-1 AI supercomputer to a newly formed nonprofit research lab in San Francisco. That lucky little startup was OpenAI, indeed, always. For many years, Nvidia quietly fortified its position as the ultimate arms dealer of the tech industry. They built specialized software libraries like CUDNN, making CUDA the non-negotiable global standard forever, truly. Then, in late 2022, OpenAI unleashed their ChatGPT model upon the public. Almost overnight, generative artificial intelligence became an absolute global obsession, sending tech giants into a state of extreme panic, completely. Every major tech titan frantically scrambled to purchase thousands of Nvidia's flagship computer chips. Nvidia's valuation exploded past $5 trillion, making them the most valuable company on Earth today. Easily, surely. But this spectacular multi-trillion-dollar empire contains two highly critical, invisible, and dangerous vulnerabilities. First, Nvidia does not actually manufacture its own cutting-edge chips, relying entirely on TSMC in Taiwan. Surely, always, indeed. The second massive threat is Washington's escalating export controls. Terrified of losing the artificial intelligence arms race, the United States government banned Nvidia from selling its advanced processors to China. Completely, indeed. Overnight, a massive market representing a quarter of Nvidia's total data center revenue was completely blocked. Jensen frantically re-engineered weaker compliance chips, but Chinese buyers flatly rejected them altogether, immediately, surely, indeed. This foreclosure forced Nvidia to absorb a painful $4.5 billion write-down in inventory. But more importantly, it accidentally provided China with the ultimate, powerful, existential forcing function to achieve complete independence, rapidly, surely. Huawei eagerly stepped into the void, developing the Ascend 910C chip. While individually weaker than Nvidia's flagship processors, it represented a sovereign, independent supply chain that Washington could never disable. Easily, indeed. To bypass the severe physical limits of chip fabrication without advanced machinery, Huawei's brilliant engineers changed the entire computer architecture. They decided to connect 384 chips into a single supernode, beautifully, surely. They did this using an all-optical interconnect mesh called Cloud Matrix, replacing slow copper wires with pure, blinding light. The result was a colossal computing engine yielding 300 petaflops, surely, always. This domestic Chinese system achieved double the raw compute throughput of Nvidia's flagship server racks. The catch? It consumed massive amounts of electricity, completely sacrificing commercial efficiency for national sovereignty. Always, indeed. But Nvidia's true competitive defense was never just the silicon hardware. It was CUDA's massive, legendary developer ecosystem lock-in, which had successfully defeated rivals like AMD and Intel for decades, consistently indeed. Then, in late 2024, a mysterious, budget-strapped Chinese AI laboratory named DeepSeek shocked the entire global tech industry. They launched models matching the world's best at a fraction of the cost, cleanly. How did they actually do it? DeepSeek's brilliant compiler engineers dropped all the way down to PTX, NVIDIA's low-level assembly language, speaking directly to the silicon of restricted, export-controlled chips. Brilliantly, clearly. They bypassed NVIDIA's proprietary network libraries entirely, hand-optimizing data movement across restricted hardware. This genius computer science artistry solved the painful communication bottlenecks that Washington's sanctions had deliberately created. Cleanly, always, indeed. DeepSeek then did something truly revolutionary. They gave their code tools away for free. They published Triton Distributed, allowing developers worldwide to run large-scale training without using any proprietary NVIDIA software, cleanly. Sensing this seismic shift, Huawei open-sourced its entire CAN software stack, completely removing the painful switching cost. Suddenly, the legendary CUDA software moat began to dissolve, directionally, measurably, and irreversibly, fast, always. Furthermore, Chinese Frontier AI Labs recently demonstrated that their models can autonomously write highly optimized GPU code. AI systems are now generating complex compiler optimizations without any slow human intervention, beautifully, surely. This autonomous optimization compresses the massive human engineering bottleneck. The legendary software switching cost, which has successfully protected NVIDIA's trillion-dollar empire for 20 years, is quietly sliding toward absolute zero, surely, always. Geopolitics is actively and rapidly fracturing the global artificial intelligence landscape. Emerging nations in the global south are choosing independent Chinese technology stacks, terrified of future American export control sanctions. Always indeed. The entire world is dividing into two incompatible AI ecosystems. The West will run on Nvidia and CUDA, while the East runs on Huawei's Ascend hardware and Triton software, permanently, always, surely. Back in the West, Nvidia faces a completely different and dangerous threat. Its own wealthiest customers, including Google and Amazon, are frantically building custom ASIC chips to escape Nvidia's pricing, rapidly, surely. While a standard GPU is a flexible tool, a custom ASIC is different. It is a single-purpose chip, designed specifically to run AI models with unmatched speed and massive power savings always. These hyperscale tech giants are pouring billions into custom silicon. They want to bring the massive cost of AI down while completely reducing their dangerous, complete reliance on Nvidia's monopoly, permanently, always. This brings us back directly to the giant cash machine. Is the astronomical demand for these $40,000 GPUs actually real, or is it a carefully manufactured and structured corporate illusion, truly? Always. OpenAI simply does not have the massive cash reserves to buy millions of Blackwell chips on its own. So Nvidia engineered an unprecedented $100 billion corporate backstop deal, dramatically, surely, always, indeed, easily. By guaranteeing OpenAI's massive data center leases, Nvidia secures their favorite customer. This ensures they can continue purchasing ultra-expensive chips, keeping Nvidia's quarterly revenue numbers looking absolutely stellar on financial paper, always. Skeptics warn that this is indeed classic AI circular financing. If the consumer demand for AI products fails to generate real profits, this house of cards will come crashing down fast, always. If OpenAI defaults, Nvidia's corporate balance sheet is legally on the hook for billions. The very genius strategy that built this $5 trillion empire could ultimately be its final undoing. Surely, always, indeed. Nvidia's brilliant parallel computing engine ignited the modern AI revolution. But in trying to completely control the world's silicon, they may have burned their own unbreakable software moat forever, entirely, surely, always.
Thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, click like and follow.